The format for the Cup of Cameroon from the year 1963 to 1968 was pitting the champions of the former West Cameroon against the champion of former East Cameroon for the final match to determine who goes home with the trophy. That trend brought teams, therefore, from former West Cameroon and former East Cameroon to meet at the final of the Cup of Cameroon. In 1964, it was P+T Social Club of Buea from West Cameroon against Diamant Football Club of Yaounde, East Cameroon. In that final, Diamant of Yaounde defeated P+T Social Club of Yaounde to lift the trophy 2-0. In 1965, it was the turn of CDC Football Club of Victoria for West Cameroon and Lion of Yaounde for East Cameroon. Lion of Yaounde emerged victorious to lift that trophy. We'll get the stories of these two editions, P+T Social Club, told by Mr. Esunge, and CDC Victoria Leon, told by Olien Fuda. Mr. Esunge, captain of the P+T team, vividly recalls highlights of the match, as well as his teammate, Mr. Gobina, a retired warder resident in Buea, and Mr. Naswa.
It was a really big shock, because we are prepared and all of us took a determination to play and to win. In those days, we had people who could forecast. We had somebody who forecasted that if we prepare well, we're going to win that match by 2-0. But when we entered the field, before the field, our entry into the field, we were surprised, but we were still determined. And when they scored us the first goal, it was really terrible. But not long after that, we had a penalty which our powerful man, Mr. Gaima, lost. Then the second half, they scored again, which was 2-0. Whereas the man who forecasted said, instead we were going to win by 2-0. Instead, it reversed.
Now, you were playing defense. Who, can you still remember any player who gave you some problem that day of the match?
For the among side, in fact, they didn't give us any problem because we were really bent, and I was at the number 5 right behind, and we were well conducted. I was the last man always near the goalkeeper, and even if it's a high ball, I will head it and so on. So it was really a challenge, a big challenge for me and captain and the number 5 man, and as they gave me the name, Mangkok.
So the style you were heading the ball, that is how you got your nickname, Mangkok.
Mangkok, yes.
And we see the Mangkok, we seem to see you with a cap that is still carrying the cock. How did you get this cap?
Yeah, this cap was given, awarded to me or granted to me by a good benevolent. In fact, who knew that the football we were playing those days, and he just make it like a joke. He said, I'm going to give you a look for a cap which you always wear to promote your Mangkok name which you had in the early days. And so he gave me this cap. This cap has been over 10 years.
And going back to that final, when the match ended, and you saw Diamant players jubilating, they were going to receive the cup. How did Chief Esunge and his players feel?
We took it easily as good Samaritans, as Cameroonians or as citizens. We were not too embarrassed with our manager, late Ngwa. That man, some of us will never forget him. He encouraged us, and he took us, he gave us food, not cash. We were not having any incentive by cash in those days. Gave us, we had drinks, we had food, and we slept the following day, so we left back to.
We merely got into the field and we were lined up. And when the head of state came and greeted us, the match started. There was no warming up. We were not even directed to a corner of the stadium for us to warm up. So, it was strange for anybody to say we could have done this or could not have done this. But we just went in as a team from this side and took off.
In 1965, it was CDC Victoria versus Lion Yaounde at the final. Lion Yaounde carried the day 3-1. Goalkeeper of the team, Fuda Aurelien Ngina, former presidential escort, gives highlights of that match.
For the first time, most of us were seeing a mammoth crowd. We hadn't played in front of such a crowd before. I don't think so. And to be very honest, we were a little bit intimidated. Just seeing this crowd made us somehow share. With all the same, we had a mission and we were determined to carry it out. We knew that those guys, they were old people at the thing, they were playing in front of those crowds all the time. But then, when we started our own small warming up, there was a time they stopped and were looking at us. And I knew they too had some bit of fright in them. Brother Jomo, if I tell you, some people have gone through their football careers, professionals for years, they've not had that opportunity to shake the hand of a head of state. And here we were, people from, I don't know where, we found ourselves in front of a mammoth crowd with the head of state coming to shake hands with us. I think some of us went for 2 days without bathing and without washing our hands. It was all CDC all the way, until we got our first goal through a penalty. And we went for a break with CDC leading 1 goal. And the Lions came back. At the second half, it was about 20-25 minutes to the end of the match. And when they saw that they had no other alternative but to resort to rough play, they started speaking in the Yaounde dialect. They did not know that there was somebody in that team who could understand just 1 word of their dialect. So when they started telling their brothers, which means if the ball passes, the leg should not pass. I started cautioning mostly my defense people. But all the same, I don't know, ironically, I was the one who fell victim to it.
What happened?
It was a corner kick. I went up to the air, I got the ball. Before I landed, one Onanagi just removed my kneecap. Gave me a serious kick on the kneecap and I collapsed.
Was that the end of the match for you?
It wasn't the end of the match for me because unfortunately we had, exhausted all our replacements. We had replaced Mr. Benton, we had replaced 2 other players, 3 players had been replaced. So there was no way. I think Peter Esuka at the time was my second, was the reserve goalkeeper. If Peter Esuka had come in, he would have won the match because he was still in all his. I had 1 Rotini, I couldn't do anything. So that is where Lions took the advantage.
And how did it end?
It ended 4-1. So you see Lions scoring 4 goals in the space of 15-20 minutes.
It must have been a very bad day for you for that.
Very bad day for me because physically I was handicapped. Then morally I was completely broken. Because that would have been the first time the Cup of Cameroon was coming over to West Cameroon.
Did you cry at any moment?
Yes, I did. I cried when I was taken to hospital. I cried. Not much out of the pains I was feeling, but out of what we had lost.